Example questions, for a candidate who is a pilot. 1. Provide information. Could you tell me about your job? 2. Explain, why did you want to be a pilot? 3. Express opinion, is a pilot's job important? 4. Predict, how will your flying change in the future? Now I'd like to ask you some questions about aviation communication. 5. Provide information, before takeoff. What do pilots need to consider and discuss about the flight? 6. Express misunderstanding, if you cannot understand an ATC message, what would you do and what would you say? 7. Speculate, when communicating in emergency situations, what extra problems could there be?
Now, in this first part, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself. Could you tell me about your interest in aviation?
Yeah, I would like to be a commercial pilot since I was a child. I have done my first flight when I was 9 months old, but I don't remember anything about that flight. When I was younger, I used to fly with my father in our ultralights, but in 2008, my father got ill, so we stopped flying with our ultralights and we started to modify it. And now I'm flying with one of my pilot friend, and she brings me where I would like to fly, and he teach me how to fly as well.
Why did you want to be a pilot?
I would like to be a pilot because it's my dream, as I said before, since I was a child. And I think that is the only job I could do. Also because when you really like a job, I think you have more chance to do it better. And I think that for this reason, I could be a better pilot instead of other one.
Do you enjoy some flights more than others?
Yeah, I prefer maybe short-haul flights because the landing and takeoff procedures are more. There are more takeoff and more landings during the day of a pilot. So the moment where you really fly and you really have the control stick in your hand are more than in long-haul flights, because in long-haul flight you really put on the automatic pilot and then the aircraft fly on its own.
How will your flying change in the future?
As I said before, I would like to improve my pilot skill, because now I'm flying with ultralight pilots, with ultralight aircraft. I would like, during my training, I will fly with certified planes, such as Cessna 172, 182, and Piper PA-28. And also Piper PA-24, that is a twin propeller aircraft. And maybe in the next 3 years, I would like to be a first officer of maybe an Boeing 737 or an Airbus A320.
Now listen to the second part of part 1, in which the candidate answers some questions about the topic aviation communication. This part of the test will always ask you about some specific, routine aspect of your job or role in aviation, and some non-routine aspects related to the topic.
Now I'd like to ask you some questions about aviation communication. Before takeoff, what do pilots discuss about the flight?
Before the takeoff, the pilot discuss about the weather condition. They usually read the meteorological reports done by the air traffic controller, and they discuss about maybe the weights and the balances of an airplane, and how to collocate the passenger, because, for example, a captain can change your seat during a flight for balancing purpose.
Why is it important to consider the balance of the aircraft?
Because if the balance of an aircraft is outside of a certain range, you cannot take off, or the takeoff could be really dangerous.
And what about the weather? Why is weather something that pilots talk about?
For example, they consider the wind condition, and to choose the best runway. And for this reason, they have to choose the runway with less tailwind.
Okay. Which factors sometimes make clear communication difficult?
I think that maybe the pronunciation of stranger people can be the cause of misunderstandings and something like that. So I think that you have to try to have a good pronunciation and maybe to speak slowly. Also for the native English speaker, for example, I'm thinking to air traffic controller that speak really fast, and I think that they would speak slower, because so in this case everyone can understand them.
If there's a radio malfunction during flight, what would you do?
First of all, I put the number on the transponder, so the air traffic controller can understand from the screen of his computer that the plane are having radio problems, and then maybe I try to contact other aircraft that are closer to me than air traffic controller towers.
What's a transponder, and why do you need to change the number?
The transponder is a device that is installed in the aircraft, and the transponder transmit information between the aircraft and the air traffic controller. And if you put, I don't remember the exactly number, but if I guess that is 7,600, the air traffic controller can see, as I said before, in the screen of his PC, that you have a radio malfunction, and you can contact him talking normally.
If you cannot understand an ATC message, what would you do, and what would you say?
I will ask for a repetition, and I will say to the air traffic controller, please say again.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to part 2.